Good morning, friends. Welcome to Evolve 2020, empowering L&D superheroes to support their remote workforce. My name is Rahul, and I'll be your host for today. This micro webinar series is brought to you by Harbinger Interactive Learning. Harbinger Interactive Learning is a global design and development company specializing in helping organizations migrate their classroom-based trainings into virtual and digital formats. Harbinger Interactive Learning has over 30 years of experience in delivering innovative learning solutions for various industry verticals. For more information, please log on to harbingerlearning.com. In today's episode in this micro webinar series, we are going to talk about how can we bring in behavioral changes by nudging our learners post the virtual instructor-led training sessions. And we want this to be an interactive webinar, so at any point of this episode, if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, please feel free to type it in the chat. Now, with that, let's welcome our guests for today's episode. And we have a couple of guests today. First, let me take the opportunity to welcome Nitin. Good morning, Nitin. Welcome to Evolve 2020.
Good morning, Rahul.
Thank you, Nitin, for being here. Thank you so much for taking the time out for this. So, Nitin, for our audience to know you a little better, could you please share something about yourself?
Sure, Rahul. Hello, everyone, and good morning. I've been a part of the technology industry for close to 30 years now. I currently play the role of Chief Operations Officer at Harbinger. In addition to ensuring that the operations run smoothly, I also focus on internal innovation and capability development. Over to you, Rahul.
Thank you so much, Nitin. Thank you. Now, with that, let's take a moment and welcome our second guest for today. We have Vikrant with us. Good morning, Vikrant.
Good morning, Rahul. It feels wonderful to be on Evolve 2020.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vikrant, for taking the time out for this. So, Vikrant, I'll make the same request for our audience to know you a little better. Could you please, tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Rahul. And good morning, everyone. My name is Vikrant Nene. I've been in the e-learning space with Harbinger for around 14 years now. And I have been involved up close with various roles and functions in Harbinger, such as instructional design, project and account management, to solutioning and to pre-sales. Currently, I'm involved in capability development, and in this, it's all about creating competent functional teams as part of an effective and a motivated workforce through proper training and skills development. And this forms a large part of the role.
Thank you, Vikrant. Thank you so much once again, thank you very much for taking the time out for being on this episode of Evolve 2020. All right, so to begin with, before we take a deep dive into today's topic, let's spend a couple of minutes and talk a little bit about as to why we are discussing bringing in behavioral changes by nudging our learners post the virtual instructor-led training sessions. Well, it's basically mainly about connecting the dots and having a measurable impact of learning, or in more simple terms, we can call it the ROI, return on investment. For example, the objective of doing a training program in a virtual environment or in a digital environment related to health and safety could be one of the key things would be to ensure zero incident rate at a manufacturing plant. And eventually, because of this zero incident rate, mitigate any revenue loss. So that's all about, if you could nudge your learners through specific learning material, post your training programs to bring in behavior that reflects safety and reduces and mitigates any risk of having any incidences at a plant operations. So with that, having said that, let's take a moment to run an audience poll and see how our audience today feels about bringing in behavioral changes in their learners through training programs. So You'll see a poll coming up on your screen in a very short moment. And the question is, it's very simple, is one of the objectives of running a training program is to bring in certain behavioral changes in the learners. Our options are yes, no, and not sure. And the poll is up now, and we'll see some results coming in. Thank you everyone for the participation. So 70% people have voted till now. We'll keep it open for another 10 to 15 seconds. Right, so now we'll close the poll and we'll look at the results. Right, so 90% of our audience feels that yes, one of the key objectives of running a training program is to bring in certain behavioral changes in the learners. And thank you so much for taking the time out to participate in this poll. Thank you. So let's moving ahead with our agenda for today. So to begin with, let's try and understand a little bit as to what is this nudge theory, what nudge is all about, and we'll request Nitin to shed some light on the nudge theory.
Sure, Rahul. So basically, nudge is primarily a concept in behavioral science, political theory, and behavioral economics. What this concept proposes is basically what is called as a positive reinforcement and indirect suggestions as ways to influence the behavior and decision making of groups or of individuals. Nudge concepts have actually been used over the ages by rulers, by governments, by organizations, and the whole idea is to bring in varied types of behavioral changes by using the concepts of nudge. So let me give you some examples, right?
Yeah.
So governments have basically, used nudge, for example, for motivating people to pay taxes on time. Okay. Uh, many organizations, especially, the self-help organizations have used nudge to, for example, push people to quit smoking. Organizations or businesses have used nudge to encourage employees to improve their skills on a continuous basis. Uh, Coming to Harbinger specifically, we use nudge theory primarily for learning reinforcement, as well as for organization change management initiatives. In fact, one such interesting change management initiative where we are using nudges is in the implementation of a continuous performance management system. So in this case, the job of the nudges is actually to help employees look at performance appraisals more as a form of performance enablement rather than just a review and ratings process. This calls for a huge mindset change, a behavioral change, and we are trying to accomplish that through using the nudge concepts. So I hope, Rahul, that in a gist, it just provides you with some information on what this whole concept is all about.
Absolutely, Nitin, and thank you very much for sharing these insights. I think it is actually pretty intriguing to know that that nudge is a behavioral science. It's proven science and has been practiced successfully to drive behavioral changes at at large scales. And the other important aspect that you shared was it's pretty interesting to know that you are practicing this to bring in certain type of behavioral changes in the organization. So thank you for sharing that, all that information. So, now we would like to get some insights as to why has the nudge learning become relevant for the L&D community in the last probably couple of years or so. There has been some talk about nudge learning for the L&D community, and probably Vikrant, we'll turn to you and we'll request your insights on this.
Yeah, well, Rahul, it was in the year 2017, right, when Richard Thaler won the Nobel Prize for his great work on the nudge theory, and it seems that that's when people really started taking notice of it. So for the L&D community, I would say its relevance could be broadly tied to 2 or 3 points. For example, one of the key challenges that businesses are facing today is ensuring employee knowledge retention after a training session for a better ROI. Now, if I learn something new today, I probably lose 60% of that learning before that hour is passed. At least that's what the theory says. But if I'm given various avenues of reinforcing what I've learned, then that learning will stay with me much longer. So nudging your learners with reinforcement training material on a periodic basis could be one of those potential ways to improve knowledge retention. Secondly, I would say with emergence of remote workplaces like we are all doing right now due to this current pandemic situation, nudge without being intrusive is an excellent tool to make learners drive their own learning, to be in charge of their own learning. And finally, I would say making learning available in the flow of work. The model age learners in pursuit of satisfying what we say the completion syndrome at their workplaces, they're not able to find time for learning. And this is where L&D leaders will have to bring learning into the flow of work rather than making it available outside of work, after the work is done. Yeah, so I believe those are the 2 or 3 things of relevance.
Right. Thank you, Vikrant. And the point that you made around making learning available in the flow of work, and looks like post-pandemic situation, it might become more relevant because now we have to make learning available in the flow of remote work.
True.
Right. So, and Vikrant, any case or any specific situation that you want to discuss with us? Just throw some light in terms of implementation of nudge theory to solve any particular business challenge.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, as in we in our day-to-day, we do a lot of training. And I would say nudge reinforcement really works wonders. For example, we might be conducting a leadership training program, for example, or a program for team leads or project leads or project managers on, say, a topic such as customer centricity. And let's say this is a 2 to 3 weeks program with once a week sessions. Now, after the main learning impulse, which is that weekly training session, we can follow up with nudges in the form of micro learning nuggets, where we can share some supportive videos, some real on the floor kind of incidences, or share some actual positive or not so great customer experiences that we have received to drive home the point. Or we can even create scenario based quick quizzes that the learners can take and with which they can really connect to their everyday work. And we can use various platforms to drive the nudges. But what's important is we can easily look at 2 or 3 such reinforcement opportunities in between those training sessions. And it's pretty amazing to see how well this works, because after time we actually start seeing the training becoming internalized, becoming a part of you, and actually bringing about those behavioral changes, which is the ultimate goal.
Right. And thank you, Vikrant. This was a pretty interesting case, and glad to know that you're seeing the results as well, or the return on investment, if we may say. So now we basically understand what nudge theory is. You helped us understand that, and we also looked at cases through which we are successfully have been able to implement nudge, and it's capable of solving business challenges. And we can use microlearning as nuggets for reinforcement. So now help us connect the dots. If you could please talk a little bit about the technology that can be used effectively to nudge learners post their virtual instructor-led training sessions.
Hey, Rahul, so let me take that one. Technology is like that force multiplier, okay, when it comes to really applying these nudge concepts for large scale change or behavioral change. And let me talk to you about a technology that Harbinger has developed. So Harbinger has developed a product called Sprinkle Zone. It's an easy to use nudge product. It can deliver personalized nudges on the device of your choice. With an easy to use authoring environment, creating these nudges is just super easy. It's also architected as a progressive web app. So this makes it light and easy to install. In terms of features, it enables you to create personalized nudges, assessments. There are administration features, there are learner reports. There's an analytics piece that is evolving fast. So essentially, for anyone who wants to really have a great technology-based mechanism for reinforcement of all of their learning, I mean, a technology like Sprinkle Zone really, it ticks everything out there. And that's just one example of what technology can really do to essentially help organizations implement this nudge concept, especially for reinforced learning.
Thank you, Nitin, for sharing this. And sounds pretty interesting. Sprinkle Zone, uh, a lot of capabilities packed in together, and I think the analytics piece is also going to be interesting because that will give the L&D leaders more ammunition to make certain decisions and help the business.
Absolutely.
Uh, so, Nitin, one question. Now, is Sprinkle Zone going to be another item in the ever-growing inventory list of learning technology ecosystem of an organization?
It brings a very different sort of angle to the whole learning, right? I mean, the entire implementation of the nudge concepts is what this technology enables. Good thing is that, this particular product is very easy to integrate with your existing systems, right? Like your LMS, your HRIS, your performance management, and all of these things will need to go together, right? So for example, the learner can get nudges on Sprinkle Zone based on inputs that are coming through the performance review, or inputs from the LMS, where some relevant trainings could be scheduled for that particular learner. The assessment scores now, Sprinkle Zone, like I said, also has a feature where you can create assessments for the learners, and these scores can flow back into the performance management systems, can be used to guide skill development. So really, the ease with which Sprinkle Zone can actually integrate into your entire learning ecosystem and performance and learning development ecosystem is just phenomenal. Okay, and that essentially will help the organization to really multiply the way people learn and evolve.
Thank you, Nitin, for this. I think this is very interesting and good to know that Sprinkle Zone is a future-proof tool which can be seamlessly integrated in an existing learning ecosystem, make things a lot more easier. And I think this was pretty interesting. So thank you very much, Nitin, Vikrant, both once again for joining us for this episode. And it was extremely interesting to know, about Sprinkle Zone, what the capabilities are, and the power of nudge learning and how we can use it to bring in behavioral changes and reinforcement of learning and everything. Thank you once again for your time.
Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Right. So that was one interesting session we had, and as you would have noticed, we have kind of overrun our time slot by 3 to 4 minutes because the interest it's such an interesting topic and there's so much to discuss about. Probably we'll have to schedule a follow-up session on this. And with that, let me also remind our audience that with this episode, which is the 8th in the micro webinar series Evolve 2020, we are coming to the end of season 1. But the good news is the season 2 is a work in progress, and we will very soon roll out the schedule and the topics for season 2 episodes. So please look forward to that. And we would also look forward to, see you in season 2 and meet you on various episodes of season 2. In the meantime, if you have any questions and you want to know more in detail about Sprinkle Zone, the power of nudge learning, or implementation of nudge learning, the best practices, please feel free to drop us a line at info@harbingerlearning.com. I'll repeat, it's info@harbingerlearning.com. Just due to time constraint, we are not able to take any questions in the chat. We will reply back to specific questions via email. So till we meet the next time, stay safe, stay inspired. Thank you very much, everyone.